Business Brain, episode 595 for casual Friday, November 1st, Scented Candle Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take some ideas, we analyze some ideas, we dissect some ideas in order to best tune our business brains every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include LegalZoom.com, where you can use promo code BBSHOW and get yourself 10% off any business formation product. And also Notion.com/businessbrain. That's where you can go to try out Notion for free. We'll talk more in depth about those and why you're going to want to check those out in a little bit. For now, as usual, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm Shannon Jean in Northern California, and I have a quick scented candle story.
Go.
Here's the deal. You never underestimate or overestimate people. We own some vacation rentals, and my wife manages those businesses, and we have candles, but not real candles, of course, in throughout these properties.
Sure.
And sure enough, every time we go, and those little LED candles have a little bulb inside, right? Kind of flicker, make it look like. It's not. Actually, it's on a regular basis that when we go up to check on the place and you're checking around and you look inside that candle, that someone has spent an extraordinary amount of time to light that light bulb on fire. And to the point where, oh yeah, I'm not making it up, point where now the first thing Renee does when we buy new candles, quote, LED candles in there, is she puts a label on the inside, "Do not light."
Wow.
And it works.
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course.
So
Yeah,
you gotta be aware of your audience. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today.
It could be. It's also National Authors Day.
Oh,
so,
that's a big deal.
Here we go. I agree.
Love those residuals. Those are wonderful.
Yep. There you go.
Very, very nice. But you have an AI story. I want to hear.
Yeah, I need to set this up a little bit so that you understand what was happening. I'm a drummer. I played a gig on Saturday night. About 3 weeks ago, the club tells us, hey, it's our big Halloween party, plus it's our 15th birthday. We're having another band open for you. Okay, fine. Pay stays the same for us.
I see.
All those things. Like, sure, sounds good. I asked our singer, who's also our manager, I'm like, are they going to want us to share a back line, meaning sharing amps and drums, because that sometimes makes changeover easier?
Yep.
He's like, no, we don't do that. I'm like, okay, no problem. 6 days before the gig, we get, you guys are sharing a back line. You got to figure it out. So
wow.
I'm like,
okay.
So I'm like, I text the sound guy who I know and I've worked with before. I said, hey, we're the second band. So generally it would be my drums that would be used for the whole night. That's kind of the thing. Like, there's two issues with this. Number one, I don't know the first drummer. I've never met him. And so don't know how I feel about that yet.
Yeah, man.
TBD on that. But also, my drums are set up on what's known as a rack, which makes setup and tear down super easy. It makes adjusting anything on the fly nearly impossible. So if you want to adjust the height of a stand, the angle of a stand, it's just a no-go. But what's beautiful about the rack is everything's in the same spot every time I play it, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yes, I got you.
Right.
So you're not fiddling with this, fiddling with that. It just like goes together and that's
it. Just goes together and it's done.
Yeah. That's cool.
And it also moves on and off the stage really easily. So I told the guy, I'm like, this set can be on stage in less than 5 minutes. I need two people and I have a band of 4. So, we just carry it on and it's done. I have it set up off stage. It's easy, no problem, like all that. And he was adamant. He's like, no, the only way it's going to work is if you share a drum set. And I'm like, so now I'm starting to get a little agitated because I'm being told.
I can't wait to hear how the AI comes into this. This is great.
So I'm being told, and I don't like being told what to do, especially with my own gear. I'm being told you must share a drum set with this person that you don't know. And this is the only way that it will work. And I know that A, I don't have to share my crap with anybody. And B, I also know there are many other ways for it to work because in addition to being a drummer, I'm also a sound engineer. I've done multi-band gigs. I know how this goes. I also am getting the feeling, correctly or not, that the sound engineer is being lazy and wanting to offload this. Yeah. I may have been misinterpreting that. Don't know. I didn't call him out on being lazy. There was no reason for that. So I'm like, well, slow down. Before this turns into a thing, let me talk with the other drummer. Maybe we're compatible. Maybe it's all going to work out.
Sure.
We're supposed to talk on Sunday. The gig is the following Saturday. He blows me off. And things happen. I get it. It turns out he had started a new job and things got haywire for him. Okay, fine, whatever. Thursday night, I start getting texts from the sound guy. Randy's fine using your drum set. Interesting. That wasn't really the concern I had.
Right.
Okay. And I was like, still haven't talked to Randy. So an hour later, I get a text from Randy. Fine. We finally speak on Friday, the day before the gig. Everything's fine. But I pushed back hard on the sound guy when he told me Randy's fine using your kit.
Yeah.
That's not the issue, man.
Right.
And I kept pushing and I kept pushing. And then I said, hey, you've seen Randy before. How hard of a hitter is he? Like, how does he play?
Yeah.
And the answer I got back was, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. It's like, that's not an answer to my question. I just wanted information, right? Now I see you're trying to manipulate me.
Right.
And I don't like that either. So I pushed back really hard. And finally the guy was like, whatever. I've said my piece. It was clear he was pissed.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. And it's like same. Also same. Like, but he didn't see that he was doing anything wrong. And that's always a problem.
Yes.
Right. So I talked to Randy. Everything's fine. It's gonna work. He's a great guy. We talked for about 4 minutes about him sharing my drums, and then probably spent another 20 minutes nerding out about different drum gear. And I was like, great. Okay, fast friends.
Cool.
This is gonna be this guy's been playing forever. He's gonna treat my kit right. Most importantly, he knows he can't adjust anything. He knows coming in that's the deal. Great. Everything's gonna be fine. Okay. And it was. Like, there were no issues. I've had that conversation, then I've had people completely, like, destroy my setup, too. That did not happen. Randy was great all the way through. The gig was great. But I'm on my way to the gig, and I know that now I have to work with this sound engineer all night. And we need to be productive together. And, the sound... I had one sound engineer on Gig Gab, a great one, and he told me on the show, he's like, mine is a would you like fries with that job? Meaning he's in the customer service business. Like, he gets it, right? He's like, my job is to make the band sound good and make the band comfortable so that they sound their best. This other guy clearly was not buying into that, at least in our interactions. I'm like, okay, I got to get this guy back on my side because A, we're going to spend all night together in this club, but B, I want him to make us sound good. Like,
Yeah, right.
So I turned on ChatGPT's voice mode in my 25-minute drive to the club, and I told ChatGPT this. And I'm like, I need to solve this problem, but I don't want to just show up and apologize for something that, I have nothing to apologize for here, But I got to somehow work this guy. And ChatGPT was like, yes, I got you. We should employ non-complimentary behavior, meaning responding in a different way from the way the other person's acting. And that's probably a whole topic on its own.
Yeah.
Yep. We should employ that. And here's the points you want to hit. Does that sound good? And I said, yes, but I'm driving in my car and I need to deliver this now in 19 minutes when I arrive at the club. Can you give me a script? And ChatGPT read me a script.
Of course it can.
And I was like, great. And ChatGPT asked me, how do you feel about that? I said, well, now I have 15 minutes before I get to the club. I need to have this script in my bones, but I'm not reading it or anything here because I'm driving. So I am going to recite this back to you as best I can, and you're going to critique me, and we're going to go back and forth until I have it. And we went back and forth 3 times. The first time, ChatGPT was like, okay, you got a lot of the main points, but look, these 2 things that you missed that seem minor are actually major things and are going to be the difference makers in spinning this guy to your side. And I was like, okay, great. So we went 3 rounds in total of me. And at the end, she was like, oh, you've got this. She's like, you're going to be great. Have a great show.
That's amazing.
And it worked. Like, I delivered the script and he was phenomenal all night. It was perfect.
Think about it. First, that's amazing. Think about you taking that same methodology, that same system, and using it like in your customer service department.
100%.
Right? You've got a crazy email that comes in or whatever. Because let's face it, not every customer is rational, right? And we just did a show about credibility a couple days ago and all this kind of stuff and adding value, which is great. But, how do you deal with the unreasonable customer who's just pushing your buttons, all this kind of thing? But if you could use an AI intermediary to help your team model that behavior, even feed them the email, especially if it's via email or if it's voicemail, you can do it via the voice. That could be incredible. And the way you use it when you're driving is, I do the same thing. And
that was inspired, not inspired. It was instructed by you. God, you taught me about that. Yeah.
If you're listening, if you're not using the ChatGPT voice mode, man, you're missing out because you could talk to it on a walk, bike ride, in the car. The example I gave Dave that's kind of relevant in this position is I have this vacation rental. It's on a well. We were having all kinds of problems with the well. Ask me the amount of information I know about the well is like I could put in a thimble. But on the car ride home, I got so frustrated. And I'd heard someone else talking about the voice mode. And I turned it on. I just said, hey, I'm going to give you the symptoms of this water problem I'm having with this well. Explain to me like I'm 5. How does this work? How could this be happening? And I had a 30-minute dialogue back and forth with the AI. And I just kept these aha moments like, oh, wow. Okay, that's how it works. That's how it works. And then when I got back to my office, all of that conversation is in my history as text, so I could review it. So using it in your business and your life, man, is super powerful. And it's the best $20 a month you'll ever spend in your life. I guarantee it. And implementing it with your team and your employees for training or just there's just so much. And you owe it to yourself to research this and see how it can change your life and not be nervous about it or whatever. But, the more you learn about it, the more powerful it's going to be for you.
All right, folks, have you ever wished that your workspace was more like a Swiss Army knife and less like a junk drawer? That's one of the reasons I love our sponsor, Notion. I use it for one of my other businesses, and let me tell you, it is fantastic. Notion combines notes, docs, and projects into one beautifully designed space. And the new Notion AI, it's like having an entire research team that's all-knowing and never sleeps. Here's the magic. The new Notion AI is a single AI tool that does it all. Search across Notion and other apps, generate docs in your own style, analyze PDFs and images, and chat with you about anything. Whether it's searching through thousands of docs, analyzing a complex spreadsheet, or even chatting through project ideas, Notion's got it. Plus, Notion AI connects to multiple knowledge sources, tapping into GPT-4 and Claude, and even integrates with tools like Slack, Google Docs, and more. It's a game changer for organizing tasks, tracking habits, and collaborating with your team, and privacy locked down. No data gets used for training if you don't want it to. So now that you're ready, try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/businessbrain. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/businessbrain to try the powerful, easy to use Notion AI today. And when you use our link, you're supporting our show. Notion.com/businessbrain. Your business brain will thank you. And we thank Notion for being a sponsor of this episode. All right, look, let's be real. What's the most important step in starting a business? Posting 100 photos of your grand opening on social media? Maybe. But if you want to avoid any nasty surprises, getting your business registered and legally compliant is where it's at. And our sponsor, LegalZoom, makes that part easy. Creating your own business has been everything, right? But nobody signs up for endless paperwork or high-priced legal fees. LegalZoom helps us with all that, so you stay focused on the exciting stuff. Whether it's forming your LLC, handling contracts, or connecting you with experienced attorneys, LegalZoom has your back. At LegalZoom, you can take care of your business legal needs in just a few clicks. No law degree required. With over 20 years of experience, they've helped launch and protect millions of businesses. Launch, run, and protect your business to make it official today at LegalZoom.com and use promo code BBSHOW to get 10% off any LegalZoom business formation product, excluding subscriptions and renewals. This expires December 31st of this year, 2024. Get everything you need from setup to success at LegalZoom.com and use promo code BBSHOW. LegalZoom.com and use promo code BBSHOW. And look, LegalZoom provides access to independent attorneys and self-service tools. LegalZoom is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice except where authorized through its subsidiary law firm, LZ Legal Services, LLC. And our thanks to LegalZoom for sponsoring this episode. All right, Shannon, round out the week for us, would you please?
Let me tell you this article I saw. I saw this headline. I'm going to read the headline for you because it struck me on many levels. And the headline is a CNBC, and it said, she makes $148,000 a year. Her partner makes $29,000. Here's how it affects their relationship.
All right.
And
that gets my attention. That's interesting.
Gets my attention on a bunch of different levels. But the comment that hit me was that she says, I tell him all the time, step up your game because I don't want to be carrying your weight. And I was like, ooh.
Oh.
So it got me thinking about that. And the guy who's making 29 grand, this is important to the context. He owns a gym and he's building a business. Okay. And I started to come at this as, hey, would the comment have the same weight if it was the male telling the female this, or is that, because that's an interesting discussion right there. But I actually, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, the real important part is, when I started my first business, I relied on Renee. She had a real job and I had nothing. And it took me a year to even make like $500 a month. And so, I posted, without my wife's unwavering support, I wouldn't have started my first business, let alone 9 more after that. And it definitely resonated. And in the comments, there was just all these examples of spouses supporting person, men and women. It was great. So-and-so, I did this, my wife did this. I went bankrupt. My husband stayed by my side. I started a new business, or, he worked this for 20 years. Now it's my turn and I'm building a business and he's supporting me. So it was all these really different nuances to this comment. But basically, the right spouse is a force multiplier is what it comes down to.
Yeah. My first reaction to this,
yes,
was, when you said he better step up his game. At first, it was like she makes 150K, he makes 30. Yeah. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I mean, the dollar amount that somebody earns for a relationship like that is
bad framework.
It's only part of the picture.
Yeah, it is.
It's not necessarily bad. It's just incomplete.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it. It's incomplete.
It's incomplete
context. Yeah.
No, not at all. And it was like, okay, I get that this is a headline. Great.
Yeah.
Well, her comment about he better step up his game, that my first thought to my head was, they are not life partners. They are business partners.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, I mean, and bad business partners at that, because I've had many businesses, most of which have had partners. And if we drew a line to, okay, who brought in more revenue for the business, it's also incomplete, right? It's like, okay, well, one person, if let's say person A is doing sales and person B is building widgets, right?
Yep.
Well, person A is going to get credit for those sales, but that doesn't mean what did they have to sell? Well, the widgets. Did you have those without person B making the widgets? No. Oh, well then, it's, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It obviously, it's written to catch your attention.
Of course, yeah.
And you can break it down in different ways. But you're right. You have to have that great communication, very important. And if someone wants to start something and they're fighting, I get it. Maybe there's some kind of, how long is the runway before?
Yes.
I can remember, we have really struggling with, some early businesses, and my wife, who totally supported me, telling me, hey, you can make a lot of money working for somebody else. And I was like, what? What do you think?
Yeah.
And she was right. But, I was able to turn things around and get it producing quick enough. But there's been
at some point you gotta.
Yeah.
It's nice to, like you say, the right spouse is a force multiplier. I agree with that. That doesn't always mean the support you're going to get from them is the support that you would want from them. Like
Tough
sometimes
love, right?
it's tough love, or the stark reality. It's like, let's turn on the light and look in the mirror at the same time and talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe this is the wrong path.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And those times,
and that's also a force multiplier.
It is.
Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I can remember, my wife talking me back from just never being home, when I was younger.
Yes.
And traveling all the time, chasing deals, chasing auctions, flying all over the country, doing all this stuff. And I just remember, I'll never forget it, because it's like, well, if we want to get achieve these things and get a bigger house and do that. And her comment was like, I don't need any of that. I need you to be here. Our kids are little, be here at the end of the day, be involved with their activities, and, this kind of thing. And it really hit me, and I changed everything. I changed
I had the same
life.
Conversation. Yes. Yeah. And I am, of all the things that Lisa sort of illuminated for me, she certainly didn't mandate it, but she kind of spelled it out in a way that was like, oh, wait a minute. Of all the things she illuminated for me, that's certainly one of the top 5, if not the top 1, that I am most thankful for.
Yeah, it makes a big deal. You have to have it, because you get, as an entrepreneur, you get obsessed with this stuff. It's part of my being and who I am and my personality and my ego and all that stuff. So I don't know how to separate it. And that's just the way I am. And it's tough. And so it's important to have that partner that supports you, but also can call out, and Renee has always been like, hey, I'm the employee part of the equation, because she was an employee for 10 years or so before she came and worked for, with one of our businesses.
Right.
And I never worked for anybody after, my last job was in college. So she's always like, you don't understand this part of it because of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So it's important to have that great person, and love to hear.
Well, you say the right spouse is a force multiplier. I would add the corollary is that the wrong one is a business crusher or a dream crusher or
dream crusher.
I mean, it's just so many, like this sounds like a bad path. Now, I also know the picture that we're seeing in this, Twitter post is also incomplete.
It's incomplete.
So
yes,
like
there's some good comments in there from people like that. We're like, well, how long has he been messing around with this? And is he, what's the path? And are they this? And are they that? So unusually, it got some great nuance, and so I thought it's good. It's really worth talking about.
Good.
And,
I'll link to it in the show notes, or we will link to it in the show notes.
Perfect. And so, if you, I'd love to hear your stories. Come follow us at Dave Hamilton or at Shannon Jean or businessbrain.show. Love to hear from you. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Send us an email. Tell us what you'd like to have us talk about.
Yeah. Feedback at businessbrain.show. We love hearing from you. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. Keep living that charmed life. We'll see you next week.